What's going on, fam? Good evening, good evening. Welcome back to another episode of No Clue, guys. We want to thank you guys for coming back for week 3. Y'all, this is our 3rd show. I'm so excited. You guys notice we're missing one. Mo is out, unfortunately, not with us tonight. She's working. Mo, we feel you. We're sending you love, babe. Drive safe out there in these streets. We look forward to having you back next week, though. All right, so come back to us. All right. How's everybody's week going so far?
Busy.
It's Wednesday, so we here. We in this. Let's do it.
It's hump day, right? Oh, just giving a little roundabout, give everybody a woosah moment. You know what I'm saying? Before we jump right in, we have about 2 minutes before we jump right in. So just woosah. You know, today was one of those days at work. Everybody wanted to have a meeting to discuss a meeting, to have a meeting to discuss a meeting, to talk about the meeting, to determine if we need a meeting, to talk about the last meeting that we had to talk about the meeting we're going to have tomorrow.
Right.
I was like, can we send out a tweet?
Yo, and we have social media platforms like that at my job, right? So we have like Yammer and all these other things. We got, Teams and all that. And the same thing happens. So it's like, yeah, we need to have a meeting. So I'm like, okay, what are we meeting for? Well, we need to have a meeting before we have the meeting about the meeting. And then we have to go to the meeting. And then you got to have a meeting after the meeting concludes to wrap up about the meetings that you already had. So I get it. Like, you are not alone in that.
I was like,
hey, daddy. Shout out to my daddy.
Did you become a whole 2-year-old? Oh my
God! I did.
What's going on, brother? Thank you for joining. All right, guys. Well, it's time for our startup topic. Let's talk about the say what. So let's do it. Y'all ready?
Say what?
All right. So good evening, people. It's your boy DJ. I'll be handling say what for this week. So I'm gonna do something a little different, and I'm gonna challenge us a little bit. So I want to talk about COVID-19 vaccines. So is it here in America? Is it vaccine hesitancy or is it privilege? What y'all think?
So I'm vaccinated. Okay, I got the shot. I got Pfizer though.
I did too, but no, but I really just want to have a conversation and dialogue about it because, oftentimes we get this whole report, like, especially as people of color, that our hesitancy behind it is like historical, right? And we understand those things that have happened in our historical experience with like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and we understand other things, like even thinking about Henrietta Lacks and her cells and what they've done for cancer research, et cetera, right? We understand that our communities have been experimented on when it comes to medicine and what's, like a quote unquote, a new medical marvel, right? But is it really that, it's solely hesitancy? Or do you think it's just because as Americans, we have a level of privilege? So whereas other places in other countries, they don't have that same luxury to say that they declined the vaccine. They actually would want to be vaccinated and are crying out to be vaccinated. And we have people who are like, no, I don't want to do that. Or do we look at it through the other lens of access, right? You just can't get to it. What are y'all thoughts?
So can I say I'm with both? Because I think America has this ego that's going to happen to them. It's not really going to happen to us because we're America. Like even COVID-19 knows not to mess with America type situation. But then I do think in our community, it's the hesitance from historical happenings. I think we're hesitant to get it because we're like, oh, COVID-19 just came out. How they already have something to battle it. They haven't tested it. They hasn't been through the trials and tribulations like we've heard about everything else, such as the testing for HIV and AIDS and stuff. How they say, oh, it's in this trial phase, and it seems like COVID said, hey, I'm here, and it was like, oh, here's a vaccine. So I understand people's hesitance. I get it. My staff and I have had conversations about their hesitance, and I'm pro-vaccine. I'm for it simply because I've lost people to COVID-19. And so if I can do my part, and if I'm asystematic and not passing it on to take someone else's loved one's life, then that's my part of it. But I think it's both. I think we are systematically. It's been etched into our
It's
head. Oh God, I use his word. Help me, Lord. It's been programmed in our heads that it's a ploy to take us out, or it's a ploy to track us, or it's something behind it. It's not a true vaccine. It's something that the government is monitoring our movements and stuff like that.
Great point. Let's put a pin on that. Arteria, what you got?
Well, I'm vaccinated. However,
What?
Oh, she froze. And that is not a pretty froze.
That's okay, but I know she that means she got something deep that she about to drop on us. That's all that means. They're just trying to keep it from coming out. I'm ready for you. Go ahead, Terry. What you got?
She froze again.
Man, it is not happening today.
Terry, you back with us? She said, "Give her a minute." You back there?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on, Holy Ghost.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. I've had meetings all day and I've been fine and get on here.
And there.
Can I do it? I'm gonna do it.
So one of the things though that I wanted to do or bring up is, hey, what up, Mo?
Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing?
Good. Terry, you good to give your comment?
Go ahead, Terry. I think she just froze right when she.
I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay, go ahead. What was you gonna say?
Okay, well, in the interim, Mo, what you got? We talking about vaccines. So I posed a question about the COVID-19 vaccine. Is it an access issue? Is it a privilege issue for us as Americans, or is it simply vaccine hesitancy because we don't know?
Vaccine hesitancy, because we're at a point now that there's some states that are literally giving out lottery tickets. They're putting it at the mall. They've made it as convenient as possible. The problem is that there's been so many not bad faith incidences that our country has been involved in, that people are like, this seems a little suspect. I think I'm going to fall back. And not to mention the last 10 years, there's already been a hesitancy dealing with anti-vaxxers to begin with. So, it just is what it is, unfortunately.
Dope. And then also to that point, I just wanted to add, the whole thing with J&J when they did the thing and they found out the ladies had the blood clots, even though they wasn't connected, that didn't help either, right? Because people like, okay, you want us to take something that's already not as effective, and now you're saying that these things can happen to us. So again, just promoting those things. But also, like I said, through the lens of privilege, we as Americans have the privilege to deny a vaccine, right? Where there are other people in other countries of the world that are literally dying for the opportunity to get what we take for granted. So it's a little bit of that, I think. It's also the hesitancy. And then we talked about earlier, just our overall historical experience, especially as people of color, as it relates to medicine and modern sciences and being test subjects, right? So it's all those things. Terry, are you good to give your comments before we get out this segment? I don't think it's happening for her today.
Oh man.
That's okay.
And the sad part is, the sad part is, I really want to hear her insight, especially since she has young children.
And she has something deep to say. I know
exactly.
she does, and I'm ready for that. But we gotta keep on
move
pushing.
on.
We gotta keep pushing.
Hey fam, sorry about that. We back. Let me tell y'all
something.
We're about to talk about something serious, when you about to do the work that God has assigned to your hands, don't the devil get pissed off? Can I say pissed off? I don't say pissed off. I received a message saying y'all done pissed the devil off, and I'm just like, you know what? We about to destroy some curses tonight, and so the devil just had to get in.
Yeah.
But he ain't getting the victory tonight. All right, like y'all mad now.
We ready.
You mad?
We ready.
I'm finna argue with you. You mad, man? I'm finna argue with you.
But let me show you how petty I am. Let me show the devil how petty I am. We still gonna talk about generational curses. All right,
See.
we still gonna do what we came here to do.
Wow.
We still gonna talk about genetic determinism because we gonna break those curses. So we talked about what generational curses is. That's where you believe, or you feel that because of what happened to my grandparents or to my lineage, that it's gonna affect me. That because they had high blood pressure, I gotta have high blood pressure because it's in my DNA. That because they were sex offenders, I have to be a sex offender. Because they didn't go to college, it's not in my DNA to go to college. Because they weren't successful, I can't be successful. So that's what we're talking about. We're breaking these curses. We're not breaking curses because what's broken can be put back together. We're just
ain't that it?
All right. So we're not gonna go to generational curses tonight. All right, we're destroying them. We're destroying genetic
Dr. Robert,
determinism.
You need to put your Cash App down tonight.
So I told y'all my thoughts on it. I told you some ideas of what generational curses and genetic determinism is. So y'all talk to me. Terry, I had asked you, tell me what's your feeling on generational curses or genetic determinism?
So
he gonna say that all night.
Can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
so
I'm sorry.
When I saw this topic, I had a conversation with Robert, and I was like, "This is touchy." Because of my upbringing, I had a lot of, "You're gonna be just like your mama. You're not gonna have this. You're gonna do this. You're not gonna graduate and do this." This is a very touchy subject for me. Being a woman of color and having kids, I canceled out that curse when it got to me because I don't want to transfer that curse over to my children. So everybody told me, "Oh, you weren't going to graduate high school. You was going to finish high school pregnant. You're not going to go to college. You're not going to do this. And if you have kids, your kids going to be the same way." Well, I am here to say I did graduate high school. I graduated college, valedictorian. My kids are excelling very, very well. And we said we're not gonna say broken, so I've destroyed that curse. So this is a very, very, very touchy subject to me. Very touchy. Because of my
chills. I'm getting chills. I'm sorry. I'm getting chills because we're gonna continue. DJ, generational curses. I'm sorry for DJ, genetic determinism.
Well, I mean, you already know I'm gonna approach it from a different lens, but as somebody that's also a licensed minister, it's hard not to, acknowledge the spiritual aspect of this topic. But also, then, when you first proposed it, I'm like, man, do we got the following to have this kind of a conversation? Because this is something that we want to be broad and we want to make sure that it gets across. But ultimately, I think two important things come from this conversation, right? And back to me about systems and processes, and that's identifying factors and removing barriers. And that can come from both a natural lens and a spiritual lens. So that's pretty much where I'm gonna approach these things from on tonight, because I'm ready, I'm with it, and we already saw it's already starting. So let's do it.
Yeah.
Mo?
See, generational curses, I also think of it from all the way down to the current theory of post-traumatic slave dysphoria, where our lineage was used and abused going over 400 years, and that's been passed down from mother to child over these centuries. And with the certain things in order for us to survive with, that has to be broken or destroyed in your what you stated, in order for us to start really thriving as a community. The hurt that and the trauma that has happened to us as a community, people really don't understand the levels to it and how that even affects us today. So I'm with it, and let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Let's go. So the first thing I want to talk about, so because again, religious background, but I'm gonna break these out to you. So there's 6 generational curses that we typically talk about. I'm only gonna use 4 because 4 of them I believe can be secular as well as spiritual. The other 2 are strictly spiritual. All right, and then one is the curse of the law. That's just basic disobedience. Your daddy was a thug and a drug dealer, you gonna be a thug and a drug dealer. Your mama was a hoe, you gonna be a hoe. It's kind of that been put in your mind. So when I was in psychology, my psychology professor proposed this question. Well, this story. He says 2 young men were raised by a single father. Okay? The single father was a drug addict and an alcoholic. The first son grew up to be a drug addict and an alcoholic. And the second son grew up never drunk, never did drugs. And when they asked the first son, why do you do drugs? Why do you drink? He said, well, I did what my daddy did. And the other son, they said, well, why did you never do drugs? Why did you never drink? He said, because I did what my daddy didn't do. So is that a generational curse or is it a decision? Because a lot of people like to say there's no such thing as a generational curse because you have a decision, right? Terry, if I could be devil's advocate, they would say, you made the choice to graduate high school. You made the choice to go to college. So was there a curse or was it just you made a choice? For me, it's both. Because if you're raised in a household that tells you and you constantly, so my brother is my hero. My baby brother is my hero. Even though I'm older than him, he's my hero. Why is he my hero? Because when we was growing up as kids, he was always told he was dumb. He was told he was stupid. He was told he would not be anything. All right? And my brother, I know now that how that got into the fiber of his being because how would you like to be? I'm going to cry. How would you feel if you're constantly being told down in everything that you do? But he graduated high school, went on to the Marine Corps, he did several tours, came back, went to college, graduated from college, has a family. You see what I'm saying? So that curse that was cast upon him was destroyed because he had people who told him, you're bigger than that. You're better than that. I was told that I would not be anything because my mama wasn't nothing. My daddy wasn't nothing. My 6th grade teacher, Dr. Latanya Brown, shout out to her, said, you will not be a victim of your circumstance. And she began to instill in me that I can be greater. I had an older sister who rolled my back to the ends of earth. I thought she was the meanest thing created, but she wanted me to be better than my situation. So for me, the curse had to be destroyed with me because I have a niece and I have a nephew, and I did not want them to think that they had to be something because of what somebody else has said. Our community, we tear down the African American male so quickly. Nothing against my African American ladies. But as a Black man, we're constantly told you're a drug dealer. If you walk a certain way, you're not man enough. You're not masculine enough. If you want to be a man, you have to walk like this, and you have to talk like this, and you have to act like this. And we're beat down as young men at a young age to be certain things that we are not. I was told that if I didn't play contact football, it was gay. You name it, it was gay. Band, gay. Track, gay. Kickball, gay. Tennis, gay. Everything was gay unless it was contact football because that was a man's sport.
Which ironically, they're touching each other. So,
but that's supposed to be the man's sport. Even baseball, that's gay. That's what weak people, because I guess men play football, contact football. And these are things that are told to our young people, and it makes them disobedient. Y'all talk to me.
Lord have mercy. Jackie Robinson broke the color area in vain. If now it's gay to be a baseball player.
But I mean, let's be real about it. That's what would you say if your son came and you said, hey, I want to be a ballerina. I want to be a dancer.
Okay. Let me go check some prices.
Most dads be like, oh, my son ain't finna be no damn ballerina. That's a girl sport. Can I curse? I just cursed. I'm sorry.
But quiet as it kept, football players take ballerina classes in order for them to be more flexible. But
again, that's behind the scenes. What man at home when his son watching football says, I'm gonna put you in ballet so you can be more flexible? They don't. I'm just
right.
saying, you've taken the time to get the knowledge. We're talking about the average American who sits at home, turns on the TV Sunday Night Football, and watches the Falcons against the Cowboys and watching with their little son. They don't say, "Hey, you see how limber that man is? He does yoga, he does ballet." They don't do that.
And not to mention that sport is so severely physical that you have people that are coming out with majority of them are coming out with brain damage.
And on the flip side, let's go to my females. You have a young lady who comes and say, "Mom, I want to play football," and the first thing it is, "Oh, you're gay. Women don't do that. Women sew. Women cook. Women do ballet." These are curses that are passed down that I want us to get out the mindset of, because who says that? I'm a phenomenal cook. I love to cook. My grandmother taught me how to cook. I love to freaking cook. But that's a woman's job. Talk to me. Y'all looking at me. I'm feeling nervous. I feel like I'm talking crazy.
No, you're not talking crazy. It's just going back to gender norms. And it's like, you know what? People need to get over themselves in the year of our Lord and Savior 2021, because people are doing it, anything and everything. We're doing what we got to do in order to thrive. So as long as you're not harming anybody else, I don't care. And people shouldn't care. If your child wants to come back and be an Allen Avery dancer, good for you, boo boo. What classes we need to put you in? We need to and that's going back into toxic masculinity, which that is a bad generational curse that's within our community, as well as the greater society.
DJ, talk to me, because you're my Albert Einstein over there. So talk to me.
Lord.
No, well, thank you, but no. No, I'm thinking about, because you kind of flipped the script on us a little bit, so I got to recoup some thoughts. But what you spoke about specifically are word curses, right? So that's a particular instance of that. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the fact that it is generational. I see how it is impactful, right, and how it can affect those things. But that's a specific word curse that you're talking about, and that's internalized. However, on the flip side, right, you also are talking about free will. And that goes back to what the context is originally of that entire curse of the law, right? It's about how we make decisions as people and are unable to attain the aspects of the law, because it's so rigid and so strenuous that nobody could attain them, right? But ultimately, what it boils down to is choices. And the fact that we have free will to make or determine choices, i.e., even with, making a choice or determining to choose different outside of your situation. So that's all I got right now, because I got to recollect some stuff.
My bad. Terry, talk to me, because you got a beautiful young man over there that's going to grow up to be a mighty king. So talk to me. What you going to do if Mari comes to you and say, "Mommy, I want to be an ice skater"? Oh, I think she froze again. We can't. I see your lips, but I can't hear you.
Oh no.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell y'all something. This is nothing but the devil, because he know that I've been dealing with this here topic a very long time.
Come on. Say that.
Trying to mute me.
Ooh, that's good.
We for that. Let me give me a B3. B Hammond up. Let me get my Hammond over here.
Okay.
Y'all know I'm Kojic. It don't take nothing but a dunk.
I'm
telling you, y'all know. But that was the curse of man, right? So we talked about disobedience. No, that wasn't the curse of man. That was the curse of the law. The curse of man is self-inflicted. Oh, DJ, the reason why I brought that up, I meant to tag on to that. The reason why I said that was generational is because that's what was passed down from father to father, then from father to son, then from son to son, then from son to son. And that it was just passed down through the generations that this is what men do. This is how men act. This is what men do. This is what men act. This is what a woman does. This is what a woman acts.
I'm not negating what you said.
I just.
What I am saying though is in that particular instance, though, that particular example is a particular word curse that was passed down. And that's a whole nother set of conversations, right? About, your gateways, your eye, the gateways of your eyes, the gateways of your ears, what comes out of your mouth, what's internalized. But that's a whole nother set of conversations.
We got
Ultimately,
got two conversations that came out of the first quarter of this conversation.
See,
Self-inflicted curses. This where you just gonna inflict upon yourself because of what you've been through, and you can't see the strength in what you've been through. Because some of the things Mo's been through, people die in. Some of the things DJ has been through, people just commit suicide from. Some of the things Terry has been through, people just throw their hands up and quit. So what do you do? How do you overcome self-inflicted curses? When you feel you're not good enough. I can't talk about this because then I will be crying.
Just speaking from personal experience, because I deal with imposter syndrome on a regular basis. I am coming upon since re-entering my career, which is being a truck driver. I'm coming upon 3 years again. Well, I'm coming upon 3 years, and I'm still having those doubts of, should I really be doing this? Like, I'm not good enough. Am I good enough to be doing this? Or even with other aspects of my life, even within my own, being a minister, I've had those moments of, am I the right fit for this? Should I be doing this? I mean, I know I can talk real good, but am I really appointed to do this type of work? Am I qualified to do this type of work? And then I remember, well, Moses was a stutterer, and he was able to free his people from the Pharaoh. So with God's help. So and then I remember that scripture, all things are possible through Christ that strengthens me. So um I mean, you have to go back to your own higher power, because obviously not everyone believes in the Christian faith or is a Christian by definition. But at the same time, even if your higher power is yourself, that God within you, that inner higher being that's within you, it's more than enough to fill in whatever spaces that you don't feel adequate with.
Well, I just segue with you. I just tell people that the Bible says God doesn't choose the equipped; He equips the chosen.
Yes.
And just go back. If you go back through the Bible, He always chose the least of these to be the greatest of these. Mm. Remember David?
Mm.
Oh, come on,
yes.
You got to remember
shepherd
these
boy.
And David, God, moving on, because I will go into we'll start preaching. DJ Terry, talk to me. Because y'all know it takes nothing, because I just get tired of people beating themselves up, because that was me. I can't tell you how many times I went to school and I was like, I am never going to finish this degree. Who do I think I am that I can do this? Every time I have to preach, it's always, who do I think I am that God can use me? With the stuff, if you open my closet, the amount of skeletons that will come out.
My God.
Okay, glory. And so why me, God? Why choose me? But this is what I was trained to think, that you're nobody. Why should you be rich? Why should you be successful? Why should you be anointed? Why should you be appointed? Why should you be above and not beneath? Why should you be the head and not the tail? Why should you be the lender and not the borrower? Why should you be called and not destroyed? So that's why should you live and not die? That's where I'm always going to. But people have to realize that you have to get down on your knees and get into yourself and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I shall. You have to take can't and not out of the picture. I'm sorry. DJ talk. DJ talk. Because I told y'all this. DJ talk.
Jesus.
I mean, ultimately,
Glory. Hallelujah. Thank you,
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through this week.
Goodness.
Because it's one of them things. Yeah.
Because I think about the kids right here. You know, they come out to their parents that they're same gender love, and their parents turn their backs on them. And it's like, I didn't ask to be in this world. You act like I chose this. Like I chose reproach upon myself. I chose detriment upon myself. But I'm being who God called me to be. So if we don't help destroy these curses, we lose a generation. That's how I see it. Because my future is in somebody else. My future is in Arteria's house right now. That's my future. You know what I mean? And if I don't support them, if I don't lift them up, if I don't show them that they're kings and queens and they come from royalty and they can be whatever they want to be, if I don't show them that we had a black president, that we have a black vice president, if I don't show them that there is no limit to their success, then what have I done with my life? DJ, talk to me. Arteria, talk. Somebody else talk, please.
I'm getting chills. Oh my God.
I got the mother rock going on. I can't. Not right now. Give me a minute.
Oh Jesus, I'm such a.
It's hard to talk about generation.
Go ahead, Terry. It's hard to what, baby?
It's hard to talk about generational curses and not get spiritual with it. It's hard. You know, me as an example, if I could be transparent, and I've been on this whole transparency cycle lately because I have been the one that hid behind a mask for a very long time. That was me. And so growing up, I was that raggedy child, that child that had nothing, that child, you know, everybody looked at me and said, oh, you gonna speak Ebonics, you gonna do this, you gonna do. I'm nowhere near that. You know, even into my walk into ministry, getting my license, I never thought I was going to get it. What I'm going to do with a ministerial license? You want somebody like me to walk around with that title? But then I realized he needed somebody like me to walk around with that title. I was needed. So, you know, go ahead, because I'm about to, go ahead.
DJ, you got to talk. DJ, bring us back home, please. Bring us back down to earth, DJ. Come on.
No, I can't. like I can't. And I can't because, you know, even as I'm sitting here trying to collect my thoughts, I think about my own experiences, right? And I think about my own insecurities. And I think about, you know, like how you take some things or work with it, or even like thinking about how some things I haven't done or some things I have done. I think about, you know, like how you know, you think about that and you really start to feel like and really understand like either I really didn't think enough about myself or the people didn't think enough about me. But then you also have that other portion where it's just like, then I look at what I've accomplished and where I am and what I've succeeded in, even to the places that I'm still going to. And I know that that's not of my own doing. You know, I know that that's all by the grace of God. And I know that for whatever reason that he has called me to be in these places and speak to these people the way that I have so that it's impactful, he has done so. And I'm not going to question that, even though I still wonder, like, are you sure you want me?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure that I'm the person that you meant to have this conversation with? Are you sure that I'm the person that you want to do that with? So much so that, like, I was at a training in Maryland like a couple years ago, pre-pandemic, of course. And we was at the bar. I'm not supposed to be trying to do stuff at the bar. We drinking, having a good time. And the word dropped in my spirit, like, tell him this, release this to him. And I said, me? You know, and I'm in my head, you know, people thinking I'm crazy because I'm like, you know, but I'm like, me? You want me to release a word over somebody? But, you know, I'm like, okay, all right, God, I'm going to listen, you know, and I released the word. And now I look at the manifestation of that word because I didn't hinder it. And then having conversations with that person and knowing, like, in those same cycles, because our experiences are so not different, but so similar, that people have always told him he wasn't going to be able to have a seat at the table. He wasn't going to be able to make an impact. He wasn't, versed enough to sit in the room with senators and, people of higher calibers to be able to make this impact. And I'm watching him grow and I'm watching him thrive. And I'm just like, okay, God, like, I still don't understand why you chose me. I still don't understand why you chose this particular moment to do this, but it is what it is. And then just on another note, it makes me always think about that whole, like, are we inherently good or are we inherently evil conversation, right? Like, what is it about me? Which side of that coin do I lean more towards? Like, because I'm also the same way. Like, I know it's some things that I've done that, people look at me like, you did that? Yes, I did. But I'm also at a place now where I'm mature enough and I'm healed spiritually that I can own that and tell, yeah, I did it and I was the best one at doing it. I don't do it anymore. But when I did it, I was the best at top of the game at doing it. But, that also comes with, being healed and having a space of being able to own and confront and own up to those things so that I can help somebody else learn from my experience in some way.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like we just need the benediction. Lord have mercy.
So the second thing, the second generational curse we tend to fall upon is what the Bible calls the curse of the idol worship, where you're longing for something more than God. For me, what I see is we're taught to chase the dollar. We're taught to chase the dollar. That you get this job, but this job offer you more money, you jump over here and take this job. And if this job offer you 50 cents more, you chase the dollar. And something I've learned in my life, in the beginning, I chased the dollar. I'm not gonna lie, I did. Yeah, and I put in the work. I remember days I was doing 15 to 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, because they only gave you 1 day off because people want their crab legs, and you're working your self to death, literally. But then you realize that if I take a little less money, I get a quality of life and I can be happy. But I feel like some of those curses come from who we give people to idolize. People don't want to be like Miss Mary Lou down the street, got a 4-bedroom house, 2 cars. They want to be like Meg Thee Stallion. They want to be like Rihanna, got a house in Beverly Hills renting for $80,000 a month.
Well, I got you one better. What about idols that's not people, right? So, like, even technology. Technology was created to serve our lives and make us better, but now we're the masters to technology. We can't do nothing without our phones. We can't do anything without the internet. We can't do anything without, text messages. And then, have you ever been that person where you lost or misplaced your phone?
Oh.
And now you don't know how you're going to talk to somebody or what you missed or what's going on or what all of those things are. And our entire lives are attached to something that absolutely was not invented initially anyway for that purpose, but it dictates every move of our lives.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, wholeheartedly, every aspect of my life, including my current career. If I've lost my phone somewhere, I'm stuck. And I don't even want to put that in the atmosphere, saying it out loud. That's how much like anxiety I started feeling just the thought of it. Ooh.
Like, truth be told, I go to work every day. And I use my navigation to get to work every day. I know how to get there if need be, but you want to get there the quickest route. And I can honestly say 3 or 4 times of the week, I go a different route. And I agree with you. But we were taught to lean on other things versus than to lean on our own understanding. Rephrase.
Well, no, not necessarily. I think.
Yeah, but it also said not to serve 2 masters either.
That part, but also I think it's the part where then we also idolize ourselves, right? And we put ourselves in a God in place because I had this idea to create this thing. I had this idea to birth this thing, and now whenever you see something, you need to credit me for those things. That's the same thing as worship. Every time that you come into a spot and somebody is talking about and they're giving you praise and they're highlighting for what you did, that's worship. That's what we give to God. That's what the angels give to God.
I'm with you, boss man.
But I mean, I don't know. I just, and I use that example because even to do this that we're doing, we couldn't do this without technology.
Nope.
True, because we all are in different places.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Well, the last one that I want to bring up before we go into some of the different curse examples is the curse of the seed of harvest. That's where you reap what you sow. You heard that. We've all heard that at some point in life. You reap what you sow. And a lot of times they say you reap what somebody else sowed. Because I know I've said it plenty of times, I'm here because my grandmama prayed for me. Somebody else is praying for me. That's why I'm here. Because I can tell you, I shoulda, coulda, woulda been dead 3 or 4 times. And there's been situations that should have taken me out at least 2 for sure times in my life. When I was in the hospital and the doctors told them to make the arrangements. When I was in a car accident and the police was shocked that I'm standing on the side of the road talking about how I'm going to fix my car. So we have to get past what you reap is what you sow. So if you sow a seed of discord, you're going to get discord. I believe in the law of attraction. What you put out there comes back to you. So if I put out positivity, if I put out I want a relationship, if I put out I want to graduate from college, if I put out I want to be a doctor, if I put out that I want to win and not lose, that the universe has to give that back to me. But I think we have to put it out there within reason. What I mean by that, I can't say I'm putting out that tomorrow I'm going to win the lottery. While that is possibly true, I would first have to play the lottery. You see what I'm saying? So there's a give and take there because I don't play the lottery, so there's no way I can win it if I don't play it. Type situation. So if you say I want to graduate from college, that means you have to apply yourself and actually go to college. If you say I don't want to say again,
got to put in the work.
If you don't want to end up like your mother, then you have to do the opposite of what your mother did, like the young man did with the father. He says I did the opposite of what I saw my dad do because I saw how he ended and I didn't want that end for me. So that's where you go back to you do have the decision to make, but you have to be willing to make the change and be the first person to make the change. Because you never know what example you're going to set for the people looking up to you. Everybody has eyes on them. Somebody's looking up to you. You may not know it, but somebody's looking up to you and you're somebody's role model. And you may say to yourself, well, why me? Who am I that somebody will look up to me? Because they look at you and they see greatness in you. And if you can do it, I can do it. Do y'all remember that commercial? It was a college. And the college commercial was like, if she can do it, I can do it. No, if I can do it, anybody can. And I hated that because you make it sound like you're stupid. Like, if an idiot like me can graduate, an idiot like you can graduate. But we have to.
That's why the market's so saturated.
But we have to get that mentality that I don't want to be like XYZ. I don't want to do those things. My family grew up in the projects, but guess what? I want a house in Buckhead. I want a house in Manhattan on the 38th floor with views of the water. I want to live on whatever the big street in Chicago is that everybody will live on so they can see the lake and be downtown. I want to live next to Garrett's Popcorn so I can go next door and get me some popcorn whenever I want to.
Oh, Lord, not the popcorn. Here we go.
Yeah.
There's an anointing in Garrett's Popcorn. Don't play with me.
I'm a fan of its popping more, though.
If you don't like Garrett's Popcorn, you're a peasant. But
I like it, but there's other brands that I like a little bit more. Sir.
But you also support Samsung, so need I say more? But we gotta get
that's why you can't keep the charge.
But we have to get in our mindset that we have to start sowing positive seeds and sow positive seeds in our community. So what seeds can we start sowing? Mo, Arteria, DJ, Robert. What seeds can we start sowing?
We can, start with the narrative. We can stop the narrative of black on black crime because that's a myth. It's called proximity crime. People do crime near their house. That's a way of life, and we're more segregated now than we were 50 years ago. Black men take care of their kids, statistically higher than any other ethnicity in this country. whether they are in the home or not. Also, Black women are the fastest growing segment as far as college degrees and entrepreneurship. So we have a generation of men and women that are not lazy and they're willing to do hard work, and they're dedicated to uh, thriving in their lives, not thriving for the man, so to speak. So, and I'm okay with that. I love these kids that are coming up. And I think
So
if we focus on those good things, I think that will continue to enhance our community.
someone from my job who is watching sent me a
Mhm.
message and said, "How can we stop the curse that a woman should be behind a man?" That's one. And she said,
Ooh.
"Kids should be seen and not heard. How can we motivate them if we just beat them into silence?"
Because people get the scripture messed up. They always talk about the one half, like parents. I'm sorry, children should honor their father and mother. But the second part of that scripture is parents don't instigate your child, or not instigate, but there's a different word, but I'm paraphrasing. And the people need to understand that what the Bible is about duality in relationship. So if you're when you're doing right by someone, that person should be doing right by you as well. So even with the part about submission, a man also should submit to a woman as well. Because it's a relationship. That's where the phrase equally yoked, comes in. Like you can't just submit under someone and expect and not expect to also submit under them. I mean, to me, that has caused that misrepresentation of the Bible has caused a lot of divide in our community, and it really needs to stop
So
because
Terry, as a married woman on here, can you fill us in on that submission to your man? Yo, in her defense, she said we need to get out of that thought process.
Yeah, no.
I think she said a lot in just like, yeah, no. And Terry, you also have kids. So Rikia said conscious parenting. So my grandmother raised me to speak your mind. Tell me the truth with respect, because I got the hand a couple times. Y'all may not believe this, but I have a smart mouth from time to time.
really, we had no idea.
It's so hard to find good help. Um,
That's why I'm your
but
friend.
Terry, how do you feel about your girls? Can they just come to you and talk to you about any and everything? Free their mind. You're on mute. There you go.
So the people that know me know that I've always taught my kids and will continue to teach my kids, speak your mind. However, do it in a respectful manner.
DJ, do you want kids?
At some point.
So will your kids come to you and be able to speak their mind?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that at least my siblings who have kids and even with me, I think that's one of the things that we absolutely wanted to change from, child rearing dynamics. But also, um, I think it's important to understand, to go back to the initial concept or the initial questions, is that the Bible was a book of law that's antiquated at this point, right? Jesus Christ came to reverse the law. When he came, those harsher, stricter laws that nobody could be able were no longer applicable, right? With that being said, we all have a responsibility and an obligation to be able to look at things through a more loving lens, because that's the greatest of these things. All the greatest of these things is love, right? So we have a responsibility to look at things through a more loving lens. In that, though, we have to be conscious, right? And so, to your point, yes, I would like for my future children to be able to speak their minds and do so in a manner that makes sense, that highlights how they feel. I also think, we run a problem with that though when we add that last part on there about but in a respectful manner, because now I'm trying to dictate what you can and cannot say. So in essence, it's an oxymoron, right? Because I want you to tell me what you feeling, but I want to control how you tell me what you feel. They can't, coexist. Now, I'm not saying that to say that they can just walk up to anybody at any given time and, call them everything but a child of God. No, absolutely not.
Right.
But in that same token, I can't control how you, or I shouldn't want to, I guess, if I'm saying that I'm creating a space for you to safely and accurately talk to me and confide in me and to speak how you feel and be confident in that. In that same vein, though, I can't control how that is reflected because that defeats the purpose.
So for me, I hear you and I agree with you. But what I would not. My kids can come to me and say anything, and when I say respectfully, it means don't come and be like, "Listen, mother effer, you the motherfucker." At this point, you're not my child anymore, because when you open your mouth to curse at me, you have became Lil Billy on the street.
Oh no, I don't disagree with you in that. Hear me out. I'm not saying that, and I did say, I'm not saying that that means you just walk up to somebody and say, "Listen here, blah 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 blah." Like, no, not at all. But I think too, we often, and I don't know, maybe it's just me and my experience and things that I've seen is that when parents do say that and they're like, "Yes, I want you to speak your mind," but then when the kid actually is saying what's on their mind, it's an issue. And so it's
Now
like,
that I agree with.
what you can't, do both of those things. But I think it goes back to that initial question, or at least this initial point of the oh God, the curse, right? And that's, when you're planning, part of planning is that understanding that what you plan for may not happen exactly as you planned it. I mean,
Right.
we see that in the natural world through farmers and crops. Sometimes the crops produce a harvest, sometimes they don't. And some same thing. Sometimes you have this plan that yes, I'm gonna go to this prestigious school and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna major in this, and finances dry up, and now you got to take the community college route to get to your goal. And in that route, you change your major. So, understanding that it's still a very fluid concept in those things, that it doesn't necessarily have to be this stagnant polar opposite kind of approach, and we look at it through this what people call karma, right? What you put out there, you get. What goes around comes around. Those kind of things. Well, that's not necessarily true, and we have to be very conscious and very honest and forthcoming with that's not always the case. Sometimes, yes, bad people get away with doing bad things, and sometimes good people suffer for decisions that bad people have made. That doesn't mean that those individuals deserve that, but unfortunately that was a consequence of those actions. And it does lead back to that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Thank you, Sir Isaac Newton. But but again, it's not always that kind of cut and dry black and white model.
Okay. I was waiting for that because you a spiritual DJ. I needed that professor to come out real quick. I'd be looking for my systems and processes. I'd be looking for that.
Well, you changed the game. I couldn't even come with the stuff that I wrote or that I was thinking about that was related to systems, because you hit home. And so it was really something that, was just like, no, this is the time to speak truth.
And so, like, I feel like, so hear me clearly, because I have my notes. I've been in ministry since 2002. You write out your notes, you have your plan, and I think when we just the technical difficulties that we have, I think God just said, no, let's take off the mask, let's take off the show, and let's just show the people who we really are, because like Terry said, generational curses hit home, because my sister, myself, and my brother, we destroyed the curse. We went to college, we graduated from college, and we went on to get advanced degrees and certifications. And I don't think it's going to stop there. And I think for me, when my nephew came to me and told me, he was like, "Uncle, I'm going to college because, I saw you and my mama." To me, that was like, I was here. Beyonce, she sung the song, "I was here." I left my footprint in the sands of time because I touched somebody else's life. You know what I mean? And I think that's when you start to destroy the curse, is when you touch somebody else's life and make a change. There's two young men who look up to me and they call me Pops. I am not that old. But both of them was like, I wanted to do something that I thought I couldn't do, and you helped me achieve my dream. I wanted to be a truck driver, but instead of being a truck driver, now I'm an owner. I own my own business because you showed me that not only can I achieve my dream, but I can go past my dream and live a better dream. And I think that's what we have to start doing at this point. To start destroying the curse, we have to start building up ourselves and our people. And one thing to destroy the curse, and I know y'all not going to agree with me on this, and I'm okay with that because I still love y'all at the end of the day. I try my best to support African American businesses. I do. However, comma space. When you charging me $20 for a 10-piece wings and your wings this big, that's going to tick me off. Stop trying to milk the community because we're trying to support you. Now, hear me clearly. I don't ask for discounts. I don't ask for hookup. If your stuff costs $20, I'm gonna pay you your $20 because I'm supporting your business. But I just want you to give me back good service and a quality product. Can we break that curse? Can we destroy that curse?
Can't we just say it's just a bad business? Because we don't give the same level of vitriol for Asian-owned businesses or Latino-owned businesses within our own community. I'm just saying in general, a bad business is just a bad business. Period. Because a prime example, our show is run by a small Black business, and Ricky C's social media is doing an awesome job, an excellent job, and I refer her to anyone and everyone that wants to start up their own podcast. I just feel like that there are going to be people that are mediocre. We're not good at everything, and baby, if that ain't your shout, that's just not your shout. Remember, Bishop Flunder has said in her speeches one time, when you think you're being called as a pastor, maybe you're not being called as a pastor. Maybe you just need to open up a good old Christian nonprofit, and that's okay. And that's okay, baby.
And that's okay.
Maybe you have that dream of your restaurant, and you feel like this is what you need in order to survive. Well, baby, that business model is not necessarily working with that price point. Maybe you need to switch to some different food. Black people eat more than just chicken wings.
But also, I think that brings an important part of the conversation back to specific types of curses, right? And that in particular is a curse.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm saying so.
The enemy is busy.
See, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
I went on mute. Everybody go on mute and see if DJ can talk.
Okay, can y'all hear me now? Is that right? Okay, cool. So no, I was saying I think that's a specific curse, the curse of poverty, right? And so what you're talking about specifically is two things that's incorporated in that, and that's back to my systems, because thank you for bringing me back on track, right? Because that underlies the systemic factors of an unjust economical system and an unjust inclusive system, or non-inclusive system, that has already been designed and structured for people to not thrive in those environments. I.e., when we look at the historical context of the original Black Wall Street, when you see that those things were happening and it was thriving and there was communal growth and communal wealth, what happened? It was intentionally obliterated and attempted to be completely written out of the historical record. That's one part of that. The other part to that is the other curse of poverty, in which everybody that has access to resources or capital blames those who don't have access to their situation without addressing the systems and the processes that are in place that cause those things, right? Third, let's talk about what's really going on. Another part of that, like I said, is the hoarding of resources. The reason that people in BIPOC communities and communities in color in general typically have to do those things is because, number one, there's already a more limited access to resources i.e., if you notice all of those things, when you look at those neighborhoods, they're food deserts. So that means I already had to exert more resources to be able to even get the product. Number two, I have to, if it's a larger chain or somebody that really is doing it, now I have to spend money to get those things imported or shipped to me, right? So again, that's a further strain on my resources on top of overhead capital, taxes, employees and staff, right? And not to mention, because of what's going on in the current global climate, because of the pandemic, nothing is the same. Everything is astronomically high. Like I was looking about that the other day and just thinking about like, how much now it costs to get a can of Lysol when they was $2 or $3 before all of this stuff happened. So I'm saying all of that to say I don't negate the fact that the service, right, was substandard. But we can't throw that label on businesses that are impacted, I guess, or directly impacted as a result of this particular curse of poverty, because that ultimately is the underlying resource or the underlying reason behind a lot of those factors.
Thank you, Professor DJ. So we have about 4 more minutes. So some of the most prominent generational curses, as you say, was poverty. Can't speak today. Poverty, divorce. Some people say it's a generational curse because nobody in your family stayed married. Child abuse, sex abuse, domestic violence, alcoholism, drug addiction, adultery, perversion, depression, confusion, fear, indecision, panic attacks, mental illness, suicide, destructive behaviors and attitudes. Jesus Christ, that's a list. So to begin to destroy these curses, we have to stand up, acknowledge them, and begin to make moves. We can't just sit back on them and continue to. So that means the curse has to, like Terry said, that Arteria said, you have to destroy the curse and it has to be destroyed with you. And you have to be the change that you want to see. DJ, if you ever need a job, you have a job at Coke.
I might just take you up on that.
Well, I didn't say it. This conversation, can I just say thank y'all? I think this conversation was an eye-opener. It started off rocky, but I think what we did was great. I think we broke through some curses of our own. We talked about some things. We became very vulnerable. We opened up and showed the world that we're human, that we feel, that I cry. I feel like we've brought a lot to the surface because we don't talk about these things in our households. So we started conversational pieces, and maybe a mother or a father out there would say, let me try something different with my child that wasn't done with me. My parents told me a child should be seen and not heard. So maybe I can listen to my child. I can open up and let my child have a voice and let my child tell me how they feel and make some changes, some modifications. Now, I'm not saying that if your child comes to you and say, Mom, I want a T-bone steak and a baked potato tonight, and you made oodles of noodles. I'm not saying that. Listen to them. That don't mean they're going to get a T-bone steak and some mashed potato and some baked potato. But listen to them. Be open to suggestions. Be open. Be flexible. Be willing to change with your kids. Cool beans? All right, guys. So we're going to get into our final thoughts. I want to shout out Ricky Z for real. She is phenomenal. When I say not just phenomenal for our podcast, she's phenomenal for any and everything because I'm one of those people who constantly want to do bigger and better. And anytime I contact her, I immediately get a response on it. I have it done to you. Give me 24 hours. I have it to you tomorrow. And anytime she gives me a deadline, she beats her deadlines. So if you want to start a podcast, if you want to do anything, you need some flyers done, you need some marketing done. If you need anything done, contact Ricky Z. I promise you, you find your money. She's like the Chick-fil-A of social media. It's her pleasure. How about that? That's the best comparison I can give. She's the Chick-fil-A of social media. All right, we're gonna get into our final thoughts on this here good evening. Anybody want to take the final thoughts? Will anybody wants to go first? And you guys, you will get to meet Ricky. She will be coming onto the show soon and be one of our guest judges. I mean, our guest panelists. So she doesn't know that, but she just found out now. Welcome to the Church of God in Christ. But anybody wants to go with final thoughts? Okay, so Robert, how about you go first? Oh, sure, I'll go first. No problem. Thanks, but no problem. My final thoughts. When it comes to generational curses, be the change you want to see. Let it end with you. Destroy it with you. Never say you're going to break a curse, because what's once broken can always be put back together. Destroy the curse. And when you destroy it to the point where it can't be put back together. You know how when you make scrambled eggs, how you break the yolk and you can never put that yolk back together? You can never separate that yolk and that egg white again. Destroy the curse like that, where it can never be put back together, never resurface. Be the change. And when you find it yourself going through a rough patch, find you somebody to be your rock. Mo brought up Moses earlier. What people don't realize is Moses didn't go through by himself. He had Aaron. So when Moses got tired, Aaron was there to hold him down. Aaron was there to have his back. So find you an Aaron to have your back. And anytime you feel like you want to give up, keep your head up. Stay in the fight.
All right, normally I'm the closer, but I guess I'll go ahead and go. So my babies out there, I know it sounds cliche, but it gets better. Whatever boulders that you have in your way, whatever mountains that you have in your way, you can overcome them. Speaking from personal experience, I'm being real transparent, and I'm really on edge because I don't know how to take this by saying this out loud to the world. But I suffered from depression and post traumatic stress since the age of 9, along with suicidal ideation. And being within that, I'm still here. Statistically, I'm supposed to be dead. My mother also suffers depression. I'm pretty sure my grandmother also suffered some form of depression. Even my great grandmother probably suffered some type of depression. You know, coming up in, well, life was hard, especially coming from Mississippi. But it gets better. You can do this. You can overcome this, whatever it is, whatever that is in your life. And just be open. You know, inspiration can come from some of the weirdest places. What helped me was comedy. One day I was watching, which I wasn't supposed to be watching as a child, but I was watching Martin Lawrence, one of his comedy specials. He made the phrase, said, "You know what? I can't see myself committing suicide. I can't do that. If I jump off the building, I might survive and I might be walking around." He was walking funny. Of course you can't do that now, but at the time it was funny. And he said something. He said that, you know, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna be like a little bee, and I'm going to take pills and fall asleep. Needless to say, at that point I was like, you know what? These thoughts that I'm having, I know it's a little off the subject, but the thoughts that I was having, I was like, you know what? I can't do that to myself because you're right, I might survive and I might end up being in a worse position than I started with. So I need to, when I identify these thoughts, I need to start thinking about something else. And quite frankly, it wasn't a perfect, it wasn't a click like, oh, it went happily ever after. I mean, there's even some points even now where it might pop in my head, but I've conditioned myself and disciplined myself so much that I already immediately know that, you know what, that's attack of the enemy. Let me move that thought to the side and move forward with my life. Because life is a gift, regardless of what's going on in your life. Life is a gift. I don't care if you're in somebody's top maximum security prison. Being alive is a gift. Use it wisely. Go forth and prosper within your life. Because tomorrow, the next second, could be gone just like that. I need y'all to live, people. I need y'all to live. Destroy the yoke. Abandon it. Forget, just use your higher power to do what you have to do in life to fulfill your purpose. And on a lighter note, let me go ahead and let y'all know All donations are welcome. Make sure you check out my Cash App. You know what? I can't even put it out real good. Y'all know what it is up here in the corner. But I love every single one of y'all. And be safe and protect yourselves out here. I love you.
Yeah, so I mean, man, y'all, tonight was deep. It definitely was deep. It was meant to be deep. We had to do this. Uh, so shout out for the full level of transparency. But I guess my closing thing is really simple. That light that's inside of you, that thing that makes you unique, that thing that makes you you is the thing that the world needs. And as somebody who grew up as the quirky kid that didn't quite fit in, that didn't know what my space really was, or how to navigate certain spaces, and not even understanding why certain things have happened to me the way that they've happened to me. I will say though that there is something about that uniqueness, and there is something about that light that the world needs, because there is something special in every one of those kids and every one of those people that brings a sense of hope, that brings a sense of love, and most importantly, that brings a sense of self, because that's ultimately it's an important aspect of that too. Um, but with all that being said, to go, try to tie it back to the topic, it starts with acknowledging that. It starts with acknowledging that there is something different about me. And whatever that thing is that makes me different, that can be the thing that takes me out of this cycle. That could be the thing that not only helps to take me out of that cycle, but those that I'm connected to out of that cycle. And as a result, then now we end up destroying this, because, it's like what they said, or was the movie, and I was just to laugh and choke at it when she said it, impression. She's like, what she say? Each one do what? But it's like each one teach one, and each one bring one, right? And so it really is a reality that it really does take one person. And I know people look at the world and they look at the numbers and like, but I'm one person. Is it really making a difference? It does. And I can honestly say that because of the work that I do every day with the populations that I work with every day, that me being that one person really is enough. And it really does enough. So I love you, love yourself, stay in there.
So I guess I'm the last one. So my final thought is not a final thought. My final statement is an apology. I'm going to say I'm sorry for masking up who I really am. I'm sorry for trying to walk around as this perfect person that I know I'm not I know I'm not perfect. I make mistakes and I fall. So I'm sorry. So from this point forward, you will get that role model. You will get that generational curse destroyer. You will get that from me from this point forward. My head will be held high, and no longer will my crown be tilted. So that's my final.
That was deep. So as we close out tonight, guys, thank you guys so much for toughing with us through the hardships, the technical difficulties. And Terry, I'm gonna pull on that. So if you see someone and their crown is a little tilted, fix their crown. Tell them to keep their head up, queen. Keep your head up, king. And know that you're greater. Let's destroy those curses. We all are now curse destroyers. God loves you, and so do we. All right, guys, we'll talk to you guys next week. Our topic next week is going to be phenomenal. Our topic next week is not what you think, but it's what you think. It's not what you think it is, but it's what you think it is that it is. Leave you with that. When you figure that out,
be here to find out, because it's going to be good.
so we'll see you guys this week. Love you guys. Be easy. We're out.
Bye.